friends, and welcome back to my crafty space. My name is Crystal, and in today's video we are going to be working on my first StoryKitCrush project using the Bloom Story Kit from Ali Edwards. For today's project, I am going to be doing something a little bit different than normal, and I'm actually going to create a mini album that will find a home inside of my larger 6x8 album. So to create this mini album, I am using the craft pocket cards or seed packets or whatever they called these, but they are basically craft pockets that came with a journaling card that tucks right inside, like so. I am going to be using these to create my mini album. So these will serve as the pages that then flip, and then you'll be able to pull stuff out and interact with it as you're looking through it. So I've got the pockets, I've got some cards and photos that I will add to the back sides of the pockets. I have the journaling cards that will go inside of the pockets, and then I also have photos that I'm planning to adhere to the back side of my journaling cards. So the twine here is going to help me close the album or keep it closed. I have this blooming chipboard piece that will be my title piece for this album. And then I also pulled out some copy paper, just plain white copy paper, to help me create the functionality of the album, as well as some clear plastic acetate that I can use to create my hole punched like spine for the book, which you will see as we get working on this. So without further ado, I'm going to go ahead, put you on fast forward, and work on getting this project put together. Once I have it done, we will slow back down and finish out this video. To get started on this mini album, the first thing I'm going to do is set everything to the side and work on the little piece that I'm going to use to connect this or to add this into my 6x8 6-ring binder. So what I have here is just a piece of clear transparency. I had gotten a pack of these. They are 12 by 12 from a local Michaels store, but I know you can also order these online. I believe the brand is Graphics, and I'll try to remember to link that down below for you as well. So I cut out a piece that is roughly 4 inches tall by about 2.5, 3 inches wide. And what I wanted to do was to grab my template here basically, so I could go ahead and hole punch the plastic piece so that it will go into my album and will be positioned where the cards and everything are basically in the middle of 3 of those 6 rings, which you'll see here in a little bit once we get this into the book. Once I had that piece all done, the next thing I did was go ahead and add some of my double-sided adhesive here. This is 1/4 inch thick. I like to get mine from scrapbook.com, and I love this adhesive because it is super strong, so I don't have to worry about, things falling apart over time. It holds really well. So I added 2 little strips of adhesive on both sides of the plastic, and then set that to the side to add into my little booklet later. Once I had that done, I grabbed over one of my copy paper. So this is just super thin copy paper that I have. And I trimmed it into 2-inch strips. And then I'm going to take the 2-inch strips and trim those into 4-inch by 2-inch strips. These are going to become my hinges that will help to hold the entire booklet together. Once I had those trimmed out, I pulled over my scoring board and my bone folder, and I'm going to score them at 1 inch. So now they are 1 inch by 2 inch basically, once we get those folded in half. These I'm going to use to adhere onto the craft cards, and I will sandwich them in between my photos and journaling cards in order to create like this piece that will, I mean, technically it is a hinge, but a piece that is going to help hold the book together. One of the things that I learned, I don't remember who I learned this from, but when you are scoring paper, when you add it to your scoreboard and then you use your bone folder to score it, if you fold it the opposite way, then the edge will actually stay in better tact. It won't necessarily break the paper. That's just, I don't know, something I learned, and that's why I folded it the opposite way. So in case you were wondering what the heck I was doing. So now that I have all the hinges done, I will go ahead and add that double-sided adhesive again to both sides of one of the flaps and then the inside of the second flap. So then I'm going to take off the back side and stick this down on the edge of my craft pocket. One thing I noticed as I was putting this together is that the craft pockets are actually not a full 4 inches tall, nor are they a full 3 inches wide. Actually, they might be 3 inches wide, but they're not 4 inches tall. So I end up having to trim a lot of the things as I add them here. I didn't really know it until I added this photo in, and you'll see that I will trim off the bottom section, and it actually is going to trim off the majority of my white border that I have on the photo. So it does look a little funky, but it's okay. We'll live. It's not that big of a deal, and I really didn't want to take it all apart and redo it. So, it's stuck down, it's staying. So you can see how that first little flap there was sandwiched in between my photo and the craft card. Next, I'm taking the following craft card, the next one in the series here, laying it on top of my photo, taking off the adhesive, and then folding down the flap onto the craft pocket there. The reason I did that is because I wanted to make sure that when it closes, all of the things are going to line up a little bit better. So I know that, the booklet is going to just have all those papers be in the line. Before I added my next card though, I needed to go ahead and stick down the next hinge in the series. So you can see now how this is going to work. So we've got the hinge that goes in between the craft pocket, and this time it's going to be a journaling card. I did a little bit better spacing that one in the middle. So now I have a tiny little bit to trim off on the bottom and a tiny little bit to trim off on the top, keeping everything a little bit more centered. And I will do much better with that moving forward and just have to live with that first one. It's okay. So then again, we're going to lay down the craft pocket on top of the journaling card, and then we'll take off the backing and fold that down onto the back of the pocket. So the reason I'm doing it that way is because I wanted the hinge to attach to the back side of the pocket. I didn't want to put anything on the front. I really liked the patterns and the sentiments and those things on the front of the craft pockets. And plus, I like the contrast between the craft and the journaling cards and the photos. So I wanted to keep it that way. So we went ahead, folded that down, and next we're going to take the next hinge and stick that on top of the one beneath it. So I'm just going to keep doing this. I believe I'm going to show you one more section, and then we'll fast forward and get past the rest of it. Now, something happens as I am working on this, which is, my bad. And that is that I forget to put in the piece that we made at the beginning that allows me to put this into my album. So I'm actually going to have to take apart part of this book, add that piece in, and then put the book back together. Luckily, nothing rips because I was really worried about that since I'm using the double-sided tape that is super duper sticky. I was very concerned that something was going to rip and I was going to ruin it, and definitely was happy when that didn't happen. So here you can see I skipped over a bunch of it and got to that very last page, which I just added an additional photo to it. So it's a journaling card with a photo in there. And here is where I figure out that I forgot to add the plastic piece. So I flipped to the middle of the book, and I'm going to remove a section where I believe it's a journaling card and a craft pocket meet up. Nope, it's a photo. Between a photo and a craft pocket. So I'm just carefully as I can, removing those pieces off. It gets especially tricky in between the two pieces of copy paper, since the copy paper is the thinnest and the weakest here at this point. And here's where you can see I got it separated out. Next, I'm going to take the plastic piece and add the first half of the book onto the front side of it, and then we will flip it over and add the second half. I did go ahead and add the hinge there on top of the plastic piece because I needed to create something to add to the next section of this book. So we're going to do it that way. Nope, that's a lie, actually. So here's what I thought. I thought I needed to add this hinge And then I ended up not needing it because all I had to do was just stick the two pieces together. So I tore that right back off. And then I added a few more strips of adhesive, and then we'll just stick the second half of the book right on top of the first half. Once we have that done, I can go ahead and add on my last journaling card there onto the back, and then we're going to create the title portion and the closing portion. To hold this booklet closed, I wanted to use the natural twine. Now, one of the things to keep in mind is since we have the plastic piece that's coming out of the spine, I do need to poke a hole in it in order to create a space for the twine to move through. So I grabbed over my awl and just poked a hole into the plastic. It took me some finagling to get this twine into the hole because it is natural twine, so it's just a little bit tedious. It's a little bit tedious to get it into the hole, but eventually we get it there. I had to use a needle where I just threaded it into the needle and then stuck that through the hole and was able to just yank all of the yarn through it, or all of the twine through it. Once I have that done, I go ahead and I add a little bit of adhesive onto the twine, onto the craft pocket, because I'm actually going to have this go in between the last card and the craft pocket. So the twine is hidden on the back side, but you'll see part of it on the front side, and then we can use it on the side to actually tie it into a bow and keep this little booklet nice and closed and secure inside of my album. So I will remove the backing, add on this last little card. I'll have to trim off a little bit off the top and the bottom, again, because the craft pockets are just slightly too small. And then we can turn it over and work on the front side. For the front side, I really loved this little chipboard tag that says blooming. It's really where I took my inspiration for this entire story from, was the idea of blooming. And what I did for the actual storytelling, since we won't skip over a lot of it, but all of it, but we'll skip over a lot of it anyways when we get here to the actual putting the story into the book. What I decided to do was to take a picture of each of our family members in front of this red brick wall in our downtown. And then I used those pictures in conjunction with 4 of the journaling cards to talk about areas of life where each of us is currently blooming or thriving. And then for the last 2 pockets, because there are 6, I talked about ways in which our family as a unit is blooming and thriving. It was a really good story to tell. I really enjoyed looking for the things in our life that are giving us life, and things that we are really, that we're just blooming with right now. For the front side, I did stick a little bit more adhesive down on the middle of the twine just to help hold it into place. And then because this is a sticky backed piece of chipboard, all I had to do was stick that on top of the twine to help hold it down. And that is going to be all I do for my cover. I did also stick a little piece of twine into the hole as well, since it is a tag. I wanted it to look like a tag. And then this is what I'm doing for each of those photos inside of the pockets. I just added the photo onto the journaling card, and then I have to trim around the outside because, once again, these are not quite 4 inches by 3 inches. They're slightly smaller. So, I just have to trim them off, and I'm doing my best to keep everything nice and centered. So then these just slip inside of those pockets, and then that is pretty much going to complete my album. So I'll tie this into a little bow so you can see what that will look like when it's all nice and closed. And I just think that this turned out so super cute. I really, really loved how these pockets inspired me to make this little tiny album. All right, friends, so that finishes my little mini book for today, and I am so happy with how this turned out. Even though I messed up in the middle there, it still turned out really, really awesome. So the way that this works, when it is all closed up just like this, I will be able to take out an album that I have my story albums in, or my stories in. And then I can just clip this into the bottom 3 rings right here, and it'll stay right in my album with all of the other stories that I have going on in that book. So it's just a fun way to be able to create a little booklet that you can then include in your larger booklet. So what I'll do is quickly flip through this just so you can see how it all works together. So you undo the little twine here, and then you can open up each of the pages. So some have photos, some have journaling cards. As we go, photo, journaling card, the both together, and then the journaling card. And then inside of each of these pages or pockets, you will find a journaling card with story on it, and then a photo that pertains to the journaling on the front. So for this one, I just mostly told, I tried to think about things that my husband, my kids, and I, and all of us as a family together are blooming and thriving in life right now. And so that is what I wrote about for each of those different cards. But yes, I'm just really excited with how this one turned out. I hope that you enjoyed watching this video and perhaps now have some different ideas on how to use your journaling cards. You could totally repeat something like this with homemade pockets. You could also do it without the pockets and just do photos and journaling and have those go back to back, making their own little book of their own. So it's just whatever, whatever feels right to you. If you enjoyed this video, I would love a thumbs up down below, and don't forget to hit that subscribe button so you can see all of the content I have coming your way. I will be back again next week with another StoryKitCrush project. If you are participating in StoryKitCrush, whether you're using the Bloom Kit or any kit, don't forget to hashtag StoryKitCrush over on Instagram so I can be sure to see your project and read your stories. That's my favorite part of my Friday mornings. So if you do that, I will be sure to see them. Until next time, I hope you guys have a fantastic rest of your day, an awesome weekend, and I will catch you all in the next video. Bye, friends.